Welcome to the 7th monthly devlog of Trinity 64, an action-adventure monster tamer inspired by Souls games with a visual style akin to Ocarina of Time. In this video, I'm going to talk about a new area I created and how I went about making it. I'll also be talking about the world and lore of Trinity as well as some random things I worked on this month. Before getting into what I did this month, I have 3 things to announce. The first is that Trinity 64 can now officially be wishlisted on Steam, and currently has a little over 500 wishlists, which is pretty awesome so far to me. So if this game is something you're interested in, I greatly appreciate it if you consider it. The second thing is that I launched a Patreon for those who want to support me developing Trinity. In return, I will have weekly devlogs, show behind the scenes stuff, and have your name showcased in the devlogs. And lastly, I created a small and simple Discord for people who want to follow a community revolving around the game. I'll also be in there to talk to and ask questions, and it would be really awesome to see you in there. With that out of the way, we can talk about this new area, the replication altar, which is situated at the top of the replication tower. I wanted an arena-like location as this is where you'll likely fight your first Glade Knight, and they are often isolated. This tower is located near the discarded temple off to the left, and is meant to be a towering structure even among the tall spiral trees. The entrance would be behind a locked door. Make your way to the top and you'll be greeted with a pale green sky and rain. I wanted the top of the tower to be open and have an ornate stonework with spiral and braid patterns everywhere. While I know I'm making an N64 inspired game, the center floor texture is actually 256 by 256. I will occasionally make this exception for textures that I think will be suited best for higher resolutions for better clarity, as long as it doesn't compromise the aesthetic. This texture was made by combining multiple stock mosaic tile textures along with some braided ones, and by tweaking colors to match, it ended up looking like this. I apply this technique to essentially all of the textures. By layering multiple things and mixing and matching, I can essentially create my own stonework. What's interesting is that oftentimes the detail gets lost because of the low resolution. But I'm okay with that, because as long as I made it with intent and it has a unique look, then I'm pretty happy. I really wanted this area to contrast the starting area by having this pale gray brick. And with clever use of textures and subtle modeling detail, I can create some ornate looking architecture for a low poly style. A large inspiration for this area is Inner Ilum from Shadow of the Erdtree. This location just oozes with unique architecture, and with the location being a tower as well, it was a nice reference. While the replication altar is nowhere near as crazy as this location, I'm still pretty happy with it. One side thing to note for anyone using Unreal and making a low poly game is that I found that disabling Nanite, which is ironically one of Unreal's flagship features, completely fixes my collision issues that I've been having. This is because Nanite breaks apart meshes, which helps with high poly meshes be more optimized. The problem comes from my game being low poly, and it actually just messes with all the geometry in unintended ways. So by disabling it, I fixed my collisions and my game is more performant. I also added this fake fog plane above the floor. It's subtle, but with some scrolling textures, it creates a more abandoned atmosphere. And that's the exact feeling I was going for with this location. The rain also helps add to that feeling. Another thing I tried to do was create a more interesting sky. I created my own skybox texture and then added planes above the tower with different scrolling textures that give the look of moving clouds. It's a very simple thing, but I think it adds a lot to the sky. You might have noticed the stained glass windows. I made these on my iPad referencing different stained glasses, and then trying to make a stylized version of the Great Spiral Tree. I adore how these turned out, and I'll definitely be revisiting stained glass in the future, as I think it's a great way of adding lore and story to your world by using imagery like this. This area is very simple geometry-wise, as it started out as an actual block out from within Unreal first. This allowed me to get a better sense of scale and make sure the structure felt right before going through the art process. As you can tell, it originally had a red sky, as I was going to be making something that was going to be in the game way later, but decided against it as even though I know some people are getting tired of the green colors, it's important for me to stick to the path of my vertical slice. Speaking of green, you've probably noticed this weird hologram door thing with the Trinity language on it. This is something that I'm referring to at the moment as a spirit gate. You can think of these gates as sort of puzzle doors, as the key to unlocking them will be doing something very specific. This can be anything from defeating certain guardians, having an item, or performing certain tasks. The way to solve these spirit gates would be by observing the word written on them and trying to figure out what is associated with that word, as well as paying attention to other clues, whether that be environmental or within item descriptions, or even NPC dialogue. On the other end of that type of door, we have the regular locked door. Looks pretty familiar, huh? This is a classic locked door that you would see in Ocarina of Time. But the twist is that these doors are found throughout the entire world and not just dungeons. You just need a generic key to unlock them. This will actually allow the player to decide what to use the keys they find on. Maybe they want to save them, or maybe they are curious about what is on the other side of an area. Unfortunately, these two doors aren't functional, as that's something I just didn't get to this month. But I still wanted to talk about them as I think they're important for what I'll talk about later. As you probably have noticed, there are smaller spiral trees that are being grown in this location, which leads me into talking about the lore and the purpose of this location. But that's the thing. I'm not going to tell you what this place is supposed to be. I'll just ask that you ask yourself the questions that I would. Who built this? Why did they build it? How does it relate to any previous knowledge of the world that I know? As much as I would love to explain all of the lore and details of my choices, I think that fundamentally undermines the spirit of the game. It's a game about the unknown, and coming up with your own opinion on the world around you. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong, or what you should be doing. That's up to you as the player. I'm just setting up the world and its rules. So when I do show new locations in the future, I'll definitely talk about how I made them, but I'll hardly talk about their lore, as that's something I want you to discover when you play. It kills me to do that, but I think it's necessary. Among making the replication altar, I can get into some of the miscellaneous things I did this month. Guardians can now strafe around their targets, preventing them from just attacking over and over again. This uses Unreal's EQS system to create points around their target, and it picks the valid points that it can go to based on a score. When multiple Guardians are aggroed to something, only one of them can attack at a given time. This is using a simple token system, in which the player has a token variable that gets exchanged with the Guardians, signaling that you're allowed to be attacked. This prevents Guardians from using all of their abilities and attacks on a target at the same time, as I can already tell that this could lead to some frustration. Using Unreal's AI sensing, I gave them sight to attack things in their range of vision and hearing, so that they can investigate certain sounds like pots breaking. I even gave them the ability to detect when something is friendly versus when something is not. I also decided that the next Guardians I'll be working on, primarily for prototyping but were planned to be added anyways, are the two other elemental sprites. The Ignited Sprite, a ranged DPS sprite with burning effects, and the Flooded Sprite, a mage-like sprite with some utility. I really love the way these guys look next to each other, and they're basically just paying homage to Pokemon's grass, fire, and water starters. One final thing to show is that this is what's known as a balanced Spirikoi. These are fish-like creatures that will be occasionally found in the waters throughout the world, and this is the most primitive form of them, and they're deeply connected to the Guardians. They aren't obtainable creatures like the Guardians though, but they will still be collectible and give you permanent rewards to your Guardians specifically. I'll talk more about them in the future when I'm ready, but I just wanted to get you thinking. My goal is to create an open experience. The world itself isn't entirely open, and most of it is planned to be optional. The three pillars of Trinity are its world, collection, and combat, and I want exploration to be a way of rewarding all three of those. When you discover a place like the replication altar, you'll discover new lore you hadn't before, a challenging encounter, and something new to collect. I have a lot of exciting things planned for the future, and I hope that you're willing to stick around. Like I said before, I would greatly appreciate a wishlist on Steam as well. I'd like to give a shout out to my Guardian tier patrons, as well as my Guide tier patrons, and a special thanks to my Trinity tier patrons, Eon and Jesse. And here is some amazing fan art. Honestly, these look really awesome, and I absolutely love fan art, and it's something that I will be showing at the end of every monthly devlog. So, if you're in the Discord and you want to draw, be sure to do that. As always, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next month.